Number 61 is getting hard to ignore. We're going to talk about the Warriors making a couple roster moves, talk about the latest trade rumors on Jonathan Kuminga, but we had to start today's show talking about the guy who just told the world that he's that MFer, and that is Pat Spencer. Since Steph Curry has gone down with a quad injury, which we'll have an update on to close out today's show, Pat Spencer has taken on an expanded role in Steve Kerr's rotation, even starting a couple of games. And he's taken them that opportunity and ran with it, folks. 16 points per game over the last 4, where he's averaging 25.5 minutes a night. Nearly 6 assists per game. He's not turning the ball over either. He's grabbing rebounds as well, and he's shooting the ball at an insane clip. 59% from the field, 75% from long range. I mean, this guy's hitting fadeaway jumpers over Chet Holmgren, for God's sakes. I mean, if you're fired up about Pat Spencer and his play, because we're going to dive even deeper into what Spencer has done for the Warriors so far this season and what he can do in the future. If you're fired up about his play, though, right now, go down below and do one thing for me. Like today's video. Hit the thumbs up icon if you're hyped up about Pat Spencer. All right, it's great news because the Warriors seem to really have some depth here with Steph out and if Pods ends up stinking it up. Now, he didn't do that against the Chicago Bulls where the Warriors won by 30. Clap it up. The Dubs getting a blowout win and going 2-1 on the road trip, but that was an inferior opponent. That was a blowout game. Of course, Brandon Podziemski is going to stat pad in those ones. In these tight games, though, who has been the one stepping up against Cleveland, against Philadelphia, even though you lost that game? Who has stepped up for you? It's been 61, Pat Spencer. And his head coach finally realized that. Steve Kerr said his coach realized that he is that mother effer, and he thinks that became clear. He also said to Mike Dunleavy, we got to find a spot for this guy on the roster. We'll find out how that spot is created a little later on today's show. But more from Steve Kerr here right before he called him that MFer. He said, we've seen the competitiveness. We've seen what a good player he is over the past couple of years, but he's really improved his jump shot. That's the big thing. Last year, he would turn down a lot of threes, drive in, shoot a lot of floaters. He's never going to be Steph, but he is a threat out there. That's what it takes. You have to be a threat from the line to pull the defense out. I just think now the shot quality we're getting with him on the floor is way better than what it was the past couple years. What I see from Pat Spencer on the floor, I see a guy who is rarely rattled. I see a guy who's in control a whole heck of a lot. And like I said before, he doesn't turn the ball over, much like what we've seen from the likes of Brandon Podziemski, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, guys who are getting paid in this Warrior lineup, guys who were first-round draft picks when they were selected into the NBA. No, Pat Spencer's had to get it at the mud. Undrafted. Guy was playing basketball for 1 year before he made the NBA, and he continues to be on these two-way contracts, continuing to have to prove himself. Feels like he finally has. He rarely makes mistakes, and he is never rattled out there on the basketball court, and that's not something I can say about most of the Warriors that have the ball in their hands a good amount. Spencer also said this before the season that's really sticking out to me now. He said, if you're a guy who can connect the dots, do some other things, knock the three down, there's always going to be a place for you in the NBA. There's a lot of organizations that are stuck in the bottom that continue to value length and athleticism over IQ. They tend to stay in the lottery every year. He could be talking about some people. He could be talking about some people on his own basketball team. Just interesting. He does the right thing, man. If you have it in between the ears, you are going to survive in the NBA. We're seeing that right now with the Dallas Mavericks, as a matter of fact. And Ryan Nembhard, a guy who went undrafted as well, undersized, didn't necessarily come out with the best measurables coming into the draft, 4-year college player. Look what he's doing now. The Mavs have given him the full keys to the puzzle. And like I said with Pat Spencer, he barely played any basketball before making the NBA. He didn't play until his grad year. And this guy was the best lacrosse player in the world. How crazy is that, right? He said this about the lacrosse background and how it translates to his NBA game. He said, it definitely does help. I just feel like there's a real overlap between the two sports. I'm a believer in being an athlete first. Ultimately, my focus is going to be on being a team player. Pass first, and to get other guys involved and find a way to help the team win. If it means scoring a couple big buckets, great. If it means I score 0 points, I'm truly happy to do it. That's just such a stark contrast from what we've seen from the Brandon Podziemskis of the world who say, I want the keys. I believe that players, veterans on this team look up to me and stuff like that. Jonathan Kuminga, always wants the ball in his hands. We just had Steve Kerr come out to the media and say he wants Kuminga to stop lagging up the court, just get down the floor and stop calling for the ball. Pat Spencer does none of those things. Now, he is the guy who's primarily taking the ball up, so he doesn't necessarily have to be in that position, but he's always making the right decisions. You don't see that from Kuminga. You don't see that from Podziemski all the time. Pat Spencer knows that his leash is not super long in this league, no matter what Steve Kerr is saying about him at this point. He's still a two-way player, and he isn't necessarily, have anything guaranteed in his future. Like, yeah, they haven't signed him to a standard deal just yet, so he's got to continue to prove himself. And I think he needs to be a rotation mainstay at this point. Like, I get it. Steve Kerr loves pods. The ownership loves pods. Pat Spencer is better than Brandon Podziemski at this point and needs to be playing over him. Show some love to Pat Spencer for me down in the comments section right now, because he is that mother effer. Not only did Steve Kerr say it, Draymond Green said it, Guy Santos said it, Jimmy Butler said it. Everybody believes in Pat Spencer. If you do too, go down below, drop his jersey number in the comment section, type a 61. Because with Pat Spencer and what he's doing right now, being unpullable, literally unpullable at this point, you cannot keep him off the floor. That's going to reduce roles around the team. Now, I've been talking about Paz, I'm talking about JK. Is Pat Spencer really going to take minutes away from those guys? Probably not. It's going to be these vets on the bench that have really not been all too consistent so far this year. Buddy Hield, who's shooting 31% from three-point range, averaging 8 points a game, making dumb decisions in the clutch. Like, Spencer's not doing those things. Spencer's shooting the ball well, and that's going to make Buddy Hield's minutes definitely go down. Gary Payton, we know about GP2. Zero offensive threat for the most part from him. So, with that being said, Buddy Hield makes $9 million a year. I think Pat Spencer may have just sealed Buddy Hield's trade fate. Like, if Spencer's going to end up getting a standard contract, now the Warriors do have 15 guys on the books, somebody's going to have to be on their way out. And why would the Warriors not want to get off a little bit of money with Buddy Hield here, who's under contract for the next couple of seasons? There needs to be a decision made, though, pretty soon, considering that Pat Spencer has used up 24 of his 50 NBA activations. He's on a two-way contract. He can only be up for 50 games during the season. Well, he's already like halfway there. So at some point, he'll either need to get sent down to Santa Cruz, which would be a terrible decision, or the Warriors need to find a trade to free up a spot to give him a standard contract. I think that is the route that they're going to end up going. We'll talk about that on the back half of today's show. We'll also get into a new roster move that the Warriors made just before we ended up coming in here and filming today's video, and then we'll round out today's show with a Steph Curry injury update. That around the corner. First, though, I got to tell you guys about our sponsor on today's show, and that, of course, is PrizePicks. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. It is the holiday season, the best time of year for sports, bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once. And while you and I are out here making decisions every day on what gifts to buy, what to eat, which game to watch, there is one place where it feels good to be right, PrizePicks. And if you're putting Pat Spencer in your PrizePicks right now, yeah, you're making a whole heck of a lot of money watching your Golden State Warriors. It's so simple to play, the best daily fantasy sports app in the game. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 players and their stat projections, and you watch the winnings roll in. A lot of apps offer that, though. PrizePicks separates themselves because they offer the best features, like stacks. So if you want to have multiple stat projections from the same player in the same lineup, like Pat Spencer points, Pat Spencer assists, you can do so only on PrizePicks. It's becoming a social event as well, where you can copy your friends' lineups, copy celebrity lineups, and put them in your own using the brand new feed tab. Also, they're offering early payouts now on PrizePicks. So if you're confident that you're in your lineup but not confident enough to see it all the way through, PrizePicks might just offer you an out and give you an early payout option. You can do all this stuff on PrizePicks, but when you do, download the app and use our code CLNS to get $50 in lineups instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use that code CLNS for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right, and all that information is clickable down in the comment section and description of today's video. Alrighty here. Mark Stein and Jake Fisher came out with this just randomly in the middle of our Monday here, that Alex Toohey, the two-way player that was drafted originally by Golden State in June's draft in 2025, has been waived. Now, this is an injury-related thing here. Alex Toohey, although did not look great in Warriors Summer League and hasn't seen any action for the Dubs this season, he has a knee injury that's going to be keeping him out the rest of the year. So no point in having him on a two-way deal when he's really not going to be part of their long-term plans either, as it looks right now. So they bring in a guy in Malevy, Lions. I'm not too sure too much about this guy. He did play with the Bradley University Braves in college. He's a multi-year player there and was a two-time Missouri Valley Defensive Player of the Year, but hasn't really gotten much run in the NBA. It was a short stint with the Oklahoma City Thunder last year and then played most of the season, and then most of this season so far with the Oklahoma City Blue down in the G League, where he's put up 15 points per game, 7.6 rebounds, couple of stocks as well, and shooting the ball pretty efficiently. 51% from the field, 44% from three on 3 attempts a night. Not too bad there. He's been praised by scouts for his length and his versatility, but is he really going to make that much of an impact for the Warriors this season? I don't know. It's the first I've heard of the guy, to be quite honest with you guys. But I'll give kudos to this front office for being proactive, making a move for a two-way guy who's actually got some serious size to him. He's 6'9", long wingspan. His calling card is defense, and that's not really the calling card of Quentin Post, even though he ranks very highly in the defensive rating metrics in the NBA this season. But we'll see if he ends up being a part of the Warriors rotation here in the near future. Now, let's talk about the Kuminga trade rumors that are just being sparked once again by Anthony Slater over at ESPN. A trade has never had more juice, more legs than it does right now. Want to know why? Steve Kerr DNP'd him. Jonathan Kuminga received a DNP. And it's not even like Steph was healthy for it. He did not play against the Bulls. He did not play in a game they won by 30. What does that tell you guys? Kuminga is on his way out. Now, I'll tell you what. He didn't have the worst response to this, all things considered. He said, we just switched certain things. I mean, that's all. I'm not really sure how long it lasts, but as long as things are working out there and we're winning, I don't see the point of switching anything. I'm not really sure how to feel about that, to be honest with you guys. Like, I couldn't tell if he was sarcastic or actually just kind of being a pro's pro. But what I will tell you I know is why this happened. His effort level. I mentioned it before on the show. Steve Kerr said that he wants Kuminga to get down the floor and stop jogging, lagging behind the play, and calling for the ball to go ISO. That's not your game. It can be on a bad basketball team, but it's not going to be on this basketball team. So the effort has to increase, and I think this was a swift kick in the ass by Steve Kerr to Jonathan Kuminga. He said this on the situation a little bit more. He said, I don't have any problems. I'm going to work out every day. Stay ready, because you never know how these things work. I believe in my game, and I feel good about my game. I just got to be a professional. Things happen. It's happened before. It has happened before. And honestly, I don't mind it. Like I just said, it's a swift kick in the ass. Hopefully, he plays into his role a little bit more like he was doing over the first 4 to 5 games of the season. Then he went back to his old ways. And then when that wasn't working out right and he started seeing less minutes, moved to the bench, the effort level decreased. And we just can't have that on this roster. It's fine to do these DMPs now if you're Steve Kerr, but you can't be DMPing him in January when that trade restriction opens on January 15th and you're like less than a month away from the trade deadline. You can't really afford to not be marketing the guy that you're trying to send away to another team for a lot of value back. So it's cool to do it now. It's cool to teach him a lesson right now, but you got to get him out there on the floor at some point, or else you're going to get no value for him back in a trade. Now, speaking out of trade, Anthony Slater said this. Kuminga becomes trade eligible on the 15th of January. The Warriors are expected to explore the Kuminga trade market in the weeks ahead as the probability of a split before the February deadline remains strong. Look, guys, we knew this. We know it was coming. It's the worst kept secret in the NBA that Jonathan Kuminga would be traded from the Golden State Warriors this season. What's going to come back in a trade for Jonathan Kuminga? That's really the question that we have to ask ourselves at this point. Who could they trade for? There's names going out there kind of floating in the early trade rumors of the season so far. You got Ivica Zubac, who's been talked about from the Los Angeles Clippers as somebody who could command 2 first-round picks back in a deal. Fine by me. I would go out there and do that ASAP. Daniel Gafford's a name out there. Day'Ron Sharpe's a name out there. But again, those are just front court names. Talking about maybe a guy like Trey Murphy is a big swing player who I think could keep the Warriors in contention here, but the Pelicans' asking price for Trey Murphy is pretty large as well. I don't know who the Warriors can go out there and acquire for Jonathan Kuminga, but you should comment down below a player who you think you'd want back in a Kuminga trade at some point this season, because guess what? It's going to happen, folks. All right, to wrap up today's show, we got a Steph Curry injury update here from the Warriors themselves, who said that Golden State Warriors guard Steph Curry, who suffered a left quadriceps contusion and muscle strain against the Houston Rockets on November 26th and has missed the last 4 games, was recently reevaluated. Okay, the reevaluation indicated that Curry is making good progress. He has started to do individual on-court workouts in the Bay Area and could participate in segments of the team's first practice back home on Wednesday. Now, Steve Kerr did say that Curry has a chance to come back on this Friday's game against the Timberwolves. I don't know. That injury update didn't necessarily tell me that they're expecting him back this week at some points. But the Warriors are 2-2 without Steph. They went 2-1 on that road trip, and in reality, should be 3-1. All things considered, like they should have won that Philadelphia game. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. They absolutely should have won that game, but is what it is at this point. Look, the Warriors need Steph back, but we got Pat Spencer. That's all that seems to matter at this point. That will do it for today's edition of Warriors Today by Chat Sports. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel, youtube.com/WarriorsTV, for the latest and greatest on your Dubs all season long. We'll see you guys in the next video, and as always, let's go Dubs.